The summer sun beat down on the rural Pennsylvania hillsides. Weeds choked the cracked foundations of the Caspar industrial complex. Three young friends wandered deep into the rusted factory shadows. They were searching for a place to escape the humid heat. In the hollowed-out remains of a dying empire, the boundaries between reality and the impossible began to thin under the weight of a secret left in the dirt. Near a collapsed office, they found a small iron box. The lid creaked open with a sharp and metallic groan. Inside sat 12 keys covered in a thick red rust. Each key was numbered with a simple hand-stamped tag. The weight of the iron felt strangely familiar in their palms, as if the metal itself recognized the fingerprints of a new and eager host. Bobby held key number 7 up to the dusty light. The boys found a massive steel door in the basement. This door featured 12 distinct and ancient mechanical locks. Jimmy laughed as Bobby slid the iron into the keyhole. The mechanism turned with a sound like breaking winter ice. Bobby stepped through the threshold and vanished into the dark. The silence that followed was absolute and heavy with a growing dread. In the blink of an eye, the ordinary world lost its grip on the boy, leaving only the sound of a closing door and the frantic heartbeats of his remaining friends. Jimmy and Thomas waited for Bobby to return to them. 10 minutes passed in the stifling air of the cellar. They eventually pulled the heavy steel door open once more. Bobby was not standing on the other side of frame. They found 2 severed pieces of his young human body. A single hand lay resting near the cold concrete floor. Part of a foot sat wedged in the door frame. There was no blood visible on the skin or stone. The realization that a physical space could dismantle a person without a single drop of crimson serves as a chilling testament to the efficiency of the anomaly. The local police arrived at the factory at midnight. Officer Miller documented the remains with a shaking human hand. He could not explain the lack of blood or struggle. Thomas and Jimmy were in a state of catatonic shock. They spoke of the iron keys and the numbered tags. They pointed toward the small iron box in the corner. Miller reached for the key designated as number 7 then. The air in the basement felt unnaturally cold and very still. The mystery of the missing boy became a puzzle that no standard law enforcement agency was equipped to solve in the shadows of the factory. The Foundation intercepted the police radio chatter before dawn. We recognized the signs of a localized spatial displacement event. Agent Vance led a recovery team to the industrial site. They arrived dressed as federal investigators from a special branch. Miller and the 2 boys were detained for questioning immediately. The site was cordoned off with heavy wire and guards. We took possession of the iron box and the keys. The factory was designated as a temporary containment area then. The transition from a local tragedy to a classified military operation was executed with a clinical precision that left the town in a state of confused silence. Earliest documentation focused on the properties of the 12 keys. We discovered that only key number 7 caused the shredding. Other keys appeared to lead to different and distant places. One key opened a door into a vast emerald forest. Another revealed a landscape of endless and black geometric shapes. We began to realize the door was a multi-dimensional hub. The keys were the coordinates for a series of realities. The Foundation established a permanent research station around the basement door. We aimed to map the geography of the beyond. By treating the industrial cellar as a laboratory for the exploration of the infinite, the Foundation began its long and dangerous study of the Master Portal. Historical background research uncovered a link to the Caspar family. The owner of the factory was a recluse named Elias. He vanished from the public record in 1928. Some local legends spoke of his obsession with the occult. Neighbors claimed he was building a gateway to the heavens. He spent his fortune on ancient locks and rare alloys. The iron keys were forged in a furnace that used bone. Elias believed that he could bypass death through the door. His disappearance suggests that he finally found the key he wanted. The legacy of a man who traded his life for a walk into the void remains etched into the very steel of the containment wing. The timeline of Foundation involvement progressed through the winter months. We moved the primary research to a secure facility later. The boys and Miller were administered a level of amnestic. They returned to their lives with no memory of Bobby. The town believed the child had simply run away home. We scrubbed the police records and the local newspaper files. The industrial complex was demolished to hide the cellar entrance. A specialized containment bunker was built over the original site. We ensured that the secret of the keys remained hidden. The preservation of the veil often requires the erasure of a life from the collective memory of those who loved them most. Early observations noted that the door itself was not anomalous. The anomaly existed in the relationship between lock and key. Without the iron keys, the door was a standard barrier. With the keys, it became a bridge across the stars. We found that the keys shared a unique molecular signature. They were composed of an iron not found on Earth. This metal resonated with the frequency of the spatial rift. We designated the door as the primary component of the entity. The keys were listed as sub-instances of the anomaly. The interaction between these objects created a stable and repeating breach. To hold a key is to hold a tether to a reality that does not belong to us. Initial containment attempts involved a high-security leaden vault. We wanted to isolate the keys from the basement door. We found that the keys could influence nearby locking mechanisms. Unlocked doors at the site would slam shut and bolt. We added magnetic dampeners to the key storage lockers then. This prevented the iron from communicating with the local environment. We also installed a constant video feed in the bunker. Pressure sensors monitored the weight of each individual rusted key. We could not allow a single coordinator to be lost. The complexity of these measures reflects our fear that the door might one day decide to open itself without an invited guest. We began a series of controlled tests with D-Class. D-Class subjects were given a single key to turn. They were equipped with long-range radio and oxygen tanks. Subject 9341 used key number 3. He stepped through and described a world of white light. He spoke of a motherly voice calling from the void. The signal cut out after exactly 60 seconds of talk. We never recovered the body or the equipment from room. This test proved that the keys are not just tools. They are lures for an intelligence that resides behind the door. The entity wants us to enter its many different homes. The significance of the anomaly is seen in its history. It represents one of our first forays into extra-dimensional mapping. We have learned that space is a series of layers. The keys allow us to peel back the first skin, but each layer carries its own specific and lethal threat. Some worlds are composed of radiation and high-energy light. Others are voids that pull the human form apart slowly. We manage the risk to gain the data of the Foundation is a curator of the many different ends. We watch the door so the world never sees out. The transition from discovery to description is a cold path. We have seen the rusted keys and the basement door. We have documented the loss of a boy and researcher. We have built the bunker and the leaden storage lockers. We must look at the physical nature of keys. We must examine the anatomy of a gateway into hell. The story of the 12 keys is a record of. It is a testament to the curiosity that kills the next chapter reveals the truth of the metal teeth. We prepare to unlock the description of the ancient door. Stay in the light and keep your eyes down the world is a safer place when doors stay shut. The keys are resting in the silence of the vault. They are waiting for the next hand to turn them. For as long as the Foundation stands, we will protect. We will secure the dark and contain the iron keys. The history of the Foundation is a heavy and rusted. It is written in the numbers on a metal tag. The physical nature of the gateway defies our modern science. The primary component of the anomaly consists of a large wooden door. It appears as a standard factory door from the early 20th century. The wood is a dark oak weathered by decades of industrial dust. Heavy iron straps reinforce the frame against the weight of time. There are 12 distinct locks arranged in a vertical line. Each lock requires a specific key to engage the internal mechanism. The physical door remains entirely inert without the presence of the iron keys. It does not radiate heat or show any signs of energy. Scientists have confirmed that the door frame is made of earthly materials. Beneath the layer of factory grime lies a surface that defies analysis. The realization that an ordinary piece of industrial hardware can harbor a gateway to the infinite serves as a sobering reminder of the fragile nature of our reality. The 12 rusted keys are kept in a leaden storage box. Each iron key features a simple hand-stamped metal tag. These tags are numbered 1 through 12 in A-plane font. The metal is a dark and cold alloy of unknown origin. It resists all forms of corrosion except for the existing rust layer. Analysis shows that the keys resonate with a specific low frequency. This frequency matches the vibration of the spatial rift behind the door. When a key is inserted into its corresponding lock, the air hums. The iron seems to wake up the wood of the door. The keys are not merely tools for opening a heavy barrier. They are the coordinates for a series of distinct and separate realities. Each numbered iron object holds the code for a specific destination. The weight of these keys in a human hand is the weight of a dozen different ways for the world to end. The most terrifying property of the door involves key number 7. When this key is used, the subject steps into a void. The door closes with a sound of heavy and final finality. After 60 seconds pass, the researchers pull the heavy door open. They do not find the subject standing in the factory cellar. They find a collection of severed human limbs and bone fragments. These pieces are often dry and entirely devoid of human blood. The realization that a physical space can dismantle a person with clinical efficiency remains a constant source of dread for the site staff. Key number 1 and key number 10 produce similar results. These keys act as a localized shredding mechanism for organic matter. It is as if the space behind the door is incompatible. The body is disassembled at a molecular level without any pain. The transition from a living being to a scattered pile of biological data is a boundary that no human should ever have to cross. Other keys lead to environments that are somewhat more stable. Key number 3 reveals a world of endless emerald green forests. The air in this reality is rich with oxygen and ozone. D-class subjects report hearing a distant and motherly singing voice. Key number 5 opens a door into a vast urban landscape. This city is composed entirely of black and geometric stone shapes. There are no people visible in the streets of the city. The shadows in this world move independently of any light source. Key number 8 reveals a desert of fine white silicate sand. The sky in this reality is a deep and bruised purple. These worlds are not just distant planets in our own universe. They are layers of reality that exist on top of our own. The door acts as a needle that can pierce these layers. We are merely the observers peering through the small holes we make in the fabric of the cosmos. Time does not flow at the same rate behind the door. Subject 9341 entered the forest world for a minute. He returned to our reality and claimed he lived for years. He had grown a long beard and his skin was weathered. He spoke of a civilization that lived in the high trees. To him, the time away was a lifetime of human experiences. To the research team, it was only 60 seconds of silence. This dilation presents a significant challenge for the mapping project. We cannot predict how much time will pass for our agents. A short mission can turn into a decade of total isolation. The Foundation must account for the aging of its primary assets. We send younger D-class to manage the risk of time. The keys are a bridge across space and across the years. The terrifying disconnect between the tick of a clock and the experience of a life lived in a minute challenges our most basic understanding of the linear flow of existence. The Foundation has mapped the resonant frequencies of all 12 keys. We found that each key emits a unique gravitational signature. This signature bends the light around the iron teeth slightly. We used high-resolution cameras to document the spatial distortion events. As the key turns the air within the frame ripples, it looks like the surface of a pond after a stone. This ripple is the moment when two realities finally touch hands. The transition is seamless and does not require any external power. The door draws energy from the rift it is holding open. Scientists believe the door is a natural occurrence in Pennsylvania, but the Caspar family records suggest a far more deliberate origin. The factory was built to house the door and keys. Elias Caspar was not a simple industrialist, but a master architect. He understood the geometry of the void better than we do. The possibility that our most advanced engineering is merely a crude imitation of a prehistoric science is a truth that many in the Foundation find difficult to accept. The door possesses a subtle and very dangerous psychological lure. Personnel at the site describe a desire to see the beyond. They feel a pull toward the iron locks during night. This pull manifests as a series of repetitive and vivid dreams. Subjects dream of a hallway that never ends for them. They see the 12 keys hanging from a silver thread. The keys whisper the names of the worlds they open. This cognitive hazard is the reason for the two-person rule. No single human being can be trusted with the bundle. The curiosity of the mind is a key that fits. We are all potential residents of the city of Black Stone. The lure is the door's way of finding a host. It wants to be opened and it wants to be used. The silence of the containment vault is frequently broken by the sound of keys rattling against their hooks, as if they are eager to feel the warmth of a human palm once more. We initiated a long-term exploration test with subject D-102. He was given key number 12 and a week of food. He stepped through the door and vanished into a white light. The door was left open for the duration of the test. Researchers monitored the environment with a series of remote sensors. The subject returned after exactly 7 hours of our site time. He was found weeping, and he refused to speak to anyone. His equipment was covered in a thick layer of fine ash. Analysis of the ash showed traces of ancient human bone dust. D-102 eventually claimed he saw the end. He saw a world where the sun had finally gone. He saw the remains of a Foundation site made of lead. This suggests that key number 12 leads to our own future. It is a window into the oblivion that waits for us. The realization that our ultimate fate is already recorded in the geography of another dimension is a psychological burden that weighs heavily on the souls of the research team. Wood of the door remains a mystery of biological preservation. It does not rot or show any signs of fungal growth. The grain of the oak is filled with a metallic resin. This resin hardens the wood against all forms of physical damage. We attempted to take a small sample of the frame wood. The drill bits shattered against the surface of the dark oak. The door is functionally indestructible by any known terrestrial tools. The iron straps are fused into the wood without bolts. It is a seamless integration of the organic and metal. The 12 locks are composed of a gold and copper alloy. This alloy conducts the energy of the rift with efficiency. The door is a masterpiece of a science we lack. It is a machine that looks like a standard factory exit. By hiding the complex in the mundane, the anomaly remains. The simple appearance of the factory door acts as a perfect camouflage for an engine of multi-dimensional transformation that operates beyond the limits of human understanding. The biological analysis of the shredding effect revealed a pattern. The body is not destroyed, but is instead relocated in pieces. Each part of the subject is sent to a separate world. The hand might go to the forest of emerald green. The foot might land in the white silicate desert sand. The head is often lost to the void of key 12. This suggests the shredding is a failure of the spatial alignment. The keys must be turned with a precise and steady hand. If the mechanism slips, the subject is scattered across reality. We have found traces of D-class in 5 worlds. Their remains do not decay in these other and alien places. They become permanent features of the landscape they inhabit. The Foundation documents these remains as part of the mapping project. We are tracing the geography of a person through the stars. The image of a human hand resting eternally in a forest that has never known a human footprint is a haunting testament to the high cost of our quest for knowledge. The industrial city behind Key 5 is our priority. We have sent 3 drone missions into the stone streets. The drones found that the city follows a circular pattern. In the center sits a tower made of polished iron. This tower emits a signal that matches the iron keys. We believe the keys were manufactured in this very city. The city appears to be a factory for the divine. There are no machines or workers visible in the buildings. The city functions as a single and massive biological computer. The buildings are the logic gates and the streets wires. The keys are the data packets that travel between the worlds. We are attempting to interface with the central tower. We want to download the history of the 12 iron keys. The possibility that we are trespassing in a cosmic server room designed to manage the flow of reality itself is a concept that challenges the very foundations of our scientific mission. The atmospheric conversion properties of the door are equally significant. When the door is open, the site air begins to change. We detect traces of gases not found on our Earth. Some of these gases have a soothing effect on subjects. They induce a state of mild and very pleasant euphoria. Other environments leak radiation that causes immediate and violent cellular death. We maintain a negative pressure seal to prevent the leakage. The air of the beyond is a biological and chemical hazard. We must treat every exploration mission as a planetary EVA. The researchers wear heavy suits that monitor their vital signs. If a suit fails, the subject is considered a lost asset. We cannot allow the alien air to enter the site. The containment protocols are the only thing that keeps us human. The battle to maintain a breathable atmosphere in the presence of a dozen alien heavens is a constant and expensive struggle that defines the clinical focus of our work. The significance of the Caspar industrial records cannot be overstated. We found a journal belonging to the young Bobby's father. He was the foreman of the factory in 1920. He wrote of the sounds coming from the basement area. He heard the clicking of the 12 locks at night. He saw Elias Caspar carrying a bundle of rusted iron. Caspar claimed he was talking to the architects of man. He believed the door was a gift for the worthy. The journal ends with a description of a white light. Caspar stepped through the door, and Caspar never came back. The factory was built around the door to protect Caspar. The iron keys were Caspar's inheritance for the world of men. Caspar's legacy is the gateway that we guard here. The history of the Foundation is a heavy and rusted. It is written in the numbers on a metal tag. The realization that our entire institutional philosophy was built around the remnants of one man's obsession with the infinite is a truth that we keep buried beneath layers of security clearance and clinical prose. Mankind has spent 250,000 years hiding. We built the Foundation to be the fire of science. We are the holders of wonders and caretaker of dreams. But SCP-004 reminds us of our place. We are potential fuel for a machine made of keys. We are data points waiting to be processed by an architect. Behind the heavy iron doors, we sit in the silence. We watch the pulse and we measure the spatial rift. We do this so the world stays in the light. The history of the door is a heavy record. It is written in the teeth of an iron key. The transition from description to containment procedures is cold. We move from the anatomy of the door to cage. Every discovery we made was tested in the heat of fire. Every world we found was a step toward a better. The story of the 12 rusted keys continues in containment. We continue to monitor the door's effect on local sight. The geometry of the cellar is beginning to shift slowly. The corners of the room are no longer 90 degrees. The walls seem to lean toward the center of frame. This is the first sign of a localized spatial collapse. The door is pulling the factory into its own void. We have reinforced the bunker with extra layers of lead. We must slow down the erosion of our physical reality. The Foundation is a jailer of a rift that eats. We sit in the dark to keep the world safe. The history of the Foundation is your story, I am Dr. Anna, and the archive remains open. The record of the motherboard incidents leads to the interpretations. We move from the physical anatomy to the procedures of. We must examine how we keep the gateway held shut. The story of the biological motherboard mass is one here. Together they represent the end of the world as we document the clicks, and we measure the wet thumps. The iron valve of the site remains the only door. For as long as the Foundation stands, we will protect. The containment protocols for SCP-004 are absolute. The containment protocols for SCP-004 are absolute. The concrete walls of Site 62 are thick. They bury the ancient door deep under the earth. No sunlight ever reaches this restricted industrial level. Armed guards stand at every cold steel junction. The air stays dry and it smells of ozone. To maintain the silence of a gateway that leads to a dozen separate deaths is to live in a state of constant and heavy vigilance against the infinite. This facility serves as a bunker for the impossible. The primary perimeter consists of a 3-meter fence. This fence is electrified with a high-voltage charge. Warning signs describe the area as a hazardous waste. We use the cover of a federal cleanup project. Local authorities are forbidden from entering the Valley Road. The secrecy of the site is the first line. By hiding the industrial ruins behind a mask of bureaucratic pollution, the Foundation prevents the curious from ever finding the basement. Previous containment procedures were far less complex than this. We originally used the original Caspar factory as storage. Rusted chains were the only thing holding the door. The keys sat in a wooden office desk drawer. We did not understand the spatial resonance of iron. A series of minor earthquakes struck the local county. We realized the door was pulling on local reality. The geometry of the factory floor began to warp. We moved the keys to a leaden storage box. The vibrations stopped as the lead absorbed the energy. The transition from a simple warehouse to a dedicated bunker was a necessity of our survival in this dimension. Security measures at Site 62 include pressure sensors. These sensors are installed under the 12-key hooks. Each hook is calibrated to a precise gram weight. If a key is removed, the alarms sound. The site enters a state of total lockdown immediately. Heavy blast doors seal the primary containment cellar area. We monitor the hooks through a closed circuit feed. The keys must never be moved without a warrant. To hold the weight of a world in your palm is to feel the gravity of every person lost. Personnel requirements for this entity are restricted and final. Only staff with Level 4 clearance may enter Vault. Access to the keys requires written permission from administrators. 2 senior researchers must be present during any removal. They act as a check on human curiosity. 1 man can never be trusted with the bundle. We have seen the dreams that the keys inspire. By requiring a witness for every turn of the mechanism, the Foundation ensures that no single soul succumbs to the motherly call of the beyond. The storage of the 12 keys is a science. Each rusted iron object sits in a lead locker. These lockers feature magnetic dampeners to inhibit runic signals. We found that the keys resonate with each other. If they are kept together, the air hums loudly. This hum causes intense headaches in all nearby staff. It induces a state of sudden and violent nausea. We separate the coordinates to maintain the mental health. The keys remain silent when they are kept apart. The realization that the iron possesses a collective voice is a discovery that forced a total revision of site architecture. Containment also requires a constant negative air pressure seal. This seal prevents the leakage of gases from beyond. When the door opens, the atmospheric sensors spike fast. We detect traces of neon and of liquid sulfur. These gases are a biological and chemical hazard too. We must treat the cellar like a planetary surface. Researchers wear heavy suits with an independent oxygen supply. 1 breach in the suit means a lost asset. We cannot allow the alien heavens to breathe here. The evolution of containment was a path of blood. We lost subject D-102 to Key. This subject used Key 12 and saw the end. He returned with his equipment covered in human ash. He refused to look at the lights of sight. We then implemented the mandatory psychological screening for guards. We found that proximity to the keys causes depression. Personnel begin to feel that our world is small. They feel a desire to enter the forest world. This cognitive hazard is a subtle and dangerous lure. We use white noise generators to block the clicking. The battle for the site is a war of. The iron valve of the bunker stays shut tonight. Mobile Task Force Zeta-9 remains on constant standby. They are the mole rats who explore the topographies. They are equipped with specialized spatial mapping and beacons. Their suits are reinforced against high-energy radiation bursts. They provide the muscle for every authorized exploration mission. If a subject does not return within 60 seconds, the MTF is ordered to seal the heavy door. We do not perform rescue missions into the void. The cost of a recovery is too high for. We simply document the new pieces of the subject. The image of a human hand resting in an alien desert is a reminder of the price of knowledge. Current security measures include a high-resolution camera grid. We watch the frame of the door for movement. The wood does not rot, but it does shift. The grain of the oak appears to mirror faces. These faces belong to those who stepped through door. This suggests that the door possesses a biological memory. It is a record of every guest it has. We scrub the factory dust from the floor weekly. The cleaning staff must never touch the wooden frame. One accidental contact can trigger a spatial displacement event. We maintain the line of tactile anchoring at site. By keeping the site sterile, we keep the door. The history of the Foundation is a record written. Mankind has spent 250,000 years in fear. We built the Foundation to be the steel shield. We are the holders of wonders and caretakers of. But SCP-004 reminds us of home. We are the inhabitants of a reality that leaks. Behind the heavy iron doors, we sit in silence. We watch the pulse and we measure the rift. We do this so the billions stay in light. The history of the door is a heavy record. It is written in the rusted teeth of iron. The transition from containment to research is a cold. We move from the cage to the data logs. Every world we found was a step toward end. The significance of the atmospheric conversion cannot be ignored. We found that the door acts as a pump. It pulls oxygen from our world into the void. It replaces our air with the gases of stars. This process is slow, but it is very constant. We have reinforced the negative pressure seals with titanium. We must prevent the atmosphere from becoming a toxin. The Foundation is a jailer of a planetary lung. We sit in the dark to keep you breathing. The history of the Foundation is your story. I am Dr. Anna, and the archive remains. Containment procedures for the keys are a ritual. We check the lead levels every single morning here. We test the magnetic dampeners for any power drops. The bunker must remain a silent and cold tomb. We do this so the door never speaks out. We do this so the forest stays in frame. The path to security is paved with the iron. The story of the 12 keys continues in research. We will examine the data retrieved from the beyond. We will look at the maps of the city. The archive remains open for those who dare look. In the silence between my words, remember the truth. The most dangerous thing in this universe is curiosity. It is the hand that reaches for the iron key. The research phase of SCP-004 begins. We will look at the history of the Caspar. We will see the city of black stone shapes. Stay in the light and keep your eyes down. The world is a safer place when doors shut. For as long as the Foundation stands, we protect. We will secure the dark and contain the keys. The history of the Foundation is a heavy rusted. It is written in the numbers on a tag. The next section reveals the data of the infinite. We prepare to unlock the research of the gateway. The sterile silence of Site 62 is holding. We are safe for one more long site night. But the door is still there and waiting. It is dreaming of the next hand to turn. Do not look for the factory in Pennsylvania tonight. The archive is closed but research continues. We move into the records of the mapping project. This data was bought with the lives of many. We honor their sacrifice by containing the absolute truth. The history of the 12 rusted keys continues in research. Foundation teams transformed the ruins into a sterile laboratory. Research teams led by Agent Vance began mapping the infinite. Every turn of an iron key was a gamble. They sought to understand the logic of 12 iron coordinators. The air in the bunker hummed with star energy. By treating the basement door as a window into a higher reality, our scientists hoped to decipher the fundamental architecture of the cosmos. The Foundation mapped the resonant frequencies of all 12 iron keys. Each key emits a unique and measurable gravitational signature. This signature bends light around the metal teeth. We used high-resolution cameras to document spatial distortion events. As a key turns, the air within the frame ripples. This ripple marks the moment when two realities finally touch. The transition is seamless and requires no external power source. The door draws energy directly from the rift it holds. To witness the folding of space around an iron lock is to realize that our understanding of gravity is a primitive and incomplete sketch of a much grander reality. The atmospheric conversion properties of the door are equally significant. When the door stands open, the site air changes. We detect traces of gases not found on Earth. Some gases induce a state of mild and pleasant euphoria. Other environments leak radiation that causes immediate cellular death. We maintain a negative pressure seal to prevent leakage. The air of the beyond is a lethal hazard. Every mission is treated as a planetary extravehicular activity. The researchers wear heavy suits that monitor vital signs. If a suit fails, the subject is a lost asset. The clinical struggle to maintain a breathable atmosphere in the presence of a dozen alien heavens defines the extreme risk of our work. The industrial city behind Key 5 remains our primary priority. We have sent 3 drone missions into Stone Streets. The drones found that the city follows circular patterns. In the center sits a tower made of polished iron. This tower emits a signal that matches the keys. We believe the keys were manufactured in this city. The city appears to be a factory for the divine. There are no machines or workers visible in structures. The city functions as a single and massive computer. The buildings are the logic gates and streets wires. The keys are the data packets that travel between worlds. The possibility that we are trespassing in a cosmic server room designed to manage the flow of reality itself is a concept that challenges the very foundations of our scientific mission. Time does not flow at the same rate behind door. Subject 9341 entered the forest for a minute. He returned to reality and claimed he lived for years. He had grown a beard and his skin weathered. He spoke of a civilization that lived in trees. To him, the time away was a lifetime. To the research team, it was 60 seconds. This dilation presents a challenge for the mapping project. We cannot predict how much time will pass for agents. A short mission can turn into a decade. The Foundation must account for the aging of assets. We send younger D-Class to manage the risk. The terrifying disconnect between the tick of a site clock and the experience of a life lived in a minute remains a heavy psychological burden for everyone involved. The door possesses a subtle and very dangerous lure. Personnel at the site describe a desire to see. They feel a pull toward iron locks at night. This pull manifests as a series of repetitive dreams. Subjects dream of a hallway that never ends. They see the 12 keys hanging from silver threads. The keys whisper the names of the worlds. This cognitive hazard is the reason for rules. No single human being can be trusted with bundle. The curiosity of the mind is a key. We are all potential residents of the city. The silence of the containment vault is frequently broken by the sound of keys rattling against their hooks, as if they are eager to feel the warmth of a human palm once more. The wood of the door remains a mystery. It does not rot or show fungal growth. The grain of the oak is filled with resin. This resin hardens the wood against all physical damage. We attempted to take a small sample of frame. The drill bits shattered against the surface of oak. The door is functionally indestructible by any known tools. The iron straps are fused into wood without bolts. It is a seamless integration of organic and metal. The grain of the oak appears to mirror faces. These faces belong to those who stepped through. This suggests that the door possesses an ancient memory. To look at the wood is to see a record of every guest the gateway has ever consumed in its long and rusted history. Biological analysis of the shredding effect revealed a pattern. The body is not destroyed but is instead relocated. Each part of the subject is sent elsewhere. A hand might go to the emerald forest. A foot might land in the white desert. The head is often lost to the void. This suggests the shredding is a failure of alignment. The keys must be turned with a steady hand. If the mechanism slips, the subject is scattered. We have found traces of D-class in worlds. Their remains do not decay in these alien places. They become permanent features of the landscape they inhabit. The image of a human hand resting eternally in a forest that has never known a human footprint is a haunting testament to the high cost of our quest for knowledge. We initiated a long-term exploration test with D-102. He was given Key 12 and some food. He stepped through and vanished into white light. The door was left open for the duration. Researchers monitored the environment with a series of sensors. The subject returned after exactly 7 hours of time. He was found weeping and refused to speak. His equipment was covered in a layer of ash. Analysis of the ash showed traces of human bone. D-102 claimed he saw the end. He saw a world where the sun vanished. He saw the remains of a lead site. This suggests that Key 12 leads to the future. The realization that our ultimate fate is already recorded in the geography of another dimension is a psychological burden that weighs heavily on the souls of the research team. The iron box that held the keys is unique. It is composed of a non-terrestrial iron alloy. The interior of the box is larger than exterior. This mirrors the spatial anomaly of the basement door. The box acts as a localized anchor for keys. Without the box, the keys begin to vibrate. They resonate with the frequency of the basement rift. This resonance can cause minor localized seismic events. We keep the box inside a lead vault. The lead absorbs the excess energy of the metal. The transition from a simple container to anchor ensures that the door remains stable and silent behind the heavy blast doors of Site-62. Mankind has spent 250,000 years in fear. We built the Foundation to be the steel shield. We are the holders of wonders and caretakers. But SCP-004 reminds us of home. We are the inhabitants of a reality that leaks. Behind the heavy iron doors, we sit in silence. We watch the pulse and we measure the rift. We do this so the billions stay safe. The history of the door is a heavy record. It is written in the rusted teeth of iron. The path to security is paved with the logs. Every discovery was a step toward the ultimate truth. The story of the mapping project continues in the files. Incident reports highlight the danger of the forest world. Key 3 reveals a landscape of emerald green trees. The air in this reality is rich with ozone. D-class subjects report hearing a motherly singing voice. This voice induces a state of total peace. Subjects often refuse to return to our world. We have lost 2 researchers to this specific lure. They walked into the trees and were gone. We do not perform rescue missions into the woods. The cost of recovery is considered too high. The psychological hazard of a world that promises a perfect peace is one of the most effective weapons in the door's biological and spatial arsenal. Testing with primates has yielded 0 anomalous results. Chimpanzees and gorillas scurry across the frame in silence. The door does not pulse or attempt relocation. Higher animals are ignored by the iron and wood. The entity seems to have a discriminating requirement. It demands the complexity of a human consciousness. Animals do not possess the spark the door seeks. It needs a human soul to function as data. This discriminating appetite proves that the gateway is not a simple natural occurrence, but a meticulously crafted trap designed specifically for our species. Dead human cadavers also fail to trigger the door. The gateway requires the heat and pulse of life. It needs the electricity of a human heart. If the flesh is cold, the door remains inert. This suggests the transition is not just physical. It is a process involving the harvest of mind. The soul is the power for the spatial rift. The memory is the map for the iron teeth. We are the fuel for this multi-dimensional project. The Foundation acts as the custodian of a machine that requires the essence of our humanity to stay dormant, forcing us to weigh the cost of a few lives against the survival of the entire world. The industrial city remains a source of scientific dread. The signal from the Iron Tower is increasing. It is broadcasting a series of coordinates into space. We believe it is calling for a retrieval mission. Some believe the tower is a cosmic beacon. Others think it is a distress call from Elias. The possibility that we are holding a gateway ready for an invasion remains a truth we keep from staff. We continue to monitor the city through the drones. We watch the black stone shapes for any movement. We pray that the tower never finishes its broadcast. The history of research is a record of our failure. We attempted to drill into the wood of the door. The drill bits were made of diamond. They shattered upon impact with the dark oak surface. The wood is functionally harder than any terrestrial mineral. A microscopic analysis of the frame was finally successful. It revealed that the cells are not made of cellulose. The wood is composed of a complex metallic resin. This resin conducts the energy of the spatial rift. The grain of the oak shifts with the site temperature. It moves like a liquid under the heavy iron straps. This integration of the biological and the mechanical suggests the door was grown rather than built by any human hand. Air inside the containment bunker is monitored constantly. When the gateway opens, the atmospheric sensors detect anomalies. We find traces of gases with no periodic match. These gases possess a strange and bioluminescent property. They glow with a soft amber light in the dark. Subject D-103 inhaled the gas. He described the scent as old and wet copper. He claimed he could see the thoughts of his friends. The gas appears to act as a telepathic bridge. This chemical hazard is a side effect of reality merging. We maintain a negative air pressure to trap the light. The Foundation uses a system of specialized spatial beacons. We place these beacons in the worlds beyond the door. They transmit data through the iron teeth of keys. This data allows us to map the non-Euclidean geometry. We have found that the forest world is infinite. The trees stretch into a sky with 3 suns. The geometric city follows a perfect fractal logic gate. Every street is a mirror of a larger pattern. The white desert is a place with no magnetic pole. These findings suggest that the keys are logical coordinates. They are the addresses for a series of biological servers. One theory suggests the door is a survival vessel. It preserves the biological data of several lost races. We are merely the current inhabitants of a nursery. The O5 Council watches the city tower missions. They fear the day the signal reaches its destination. They know that the iron keys are a temporary solution. The gateway is a patient predator that waits for us. It waits for the power grid to finally fail. On that day, the forest will weave into sky. The architects will return to reclaim their lost gateway. We pray that the site strobe lights never flicker. The record of the research is written in bone. We move from the data to the final incidents. Every discovery was bought with a human life lost. Every theory was tested in the heat of fire. We have learned much, but we still fear more. The door is resting and it is dreaming of hands. It is waiting for the next person to sit. For as long as the Foundation stands, we contain. Secure. Contain. Protect. These are the laws of the site. I am Dr. Anna, and the archive is closed. The transition to the incident reports begins in the basement. The history of the gateway, is a record written in blood. Every breakthrough in our understanding was paid for with a life. We must look back at the initial recovery of the keys. General Mulhausen oversaw the first containment efforts at the industrial site. He watched as his men attempted to map the spatial rift. One soldier used key number 7 without a tactile anchor line. The door closed, and the silence in the basement was absolute. When the team reopened the oak frame 10 minutes later, they found only a scattered pile of dry human remains. The body had been dismantled with a clean and clinical precision. The realization that an ordinary piece of industrial hardware can dismantle a person without a single drop of blood serves as a chilling testament to the efficiency of the anomaly that waits behind the dark oak. Internal investigations into the first deaths were cold and very brief. Mulhausen viewed the lost men as variables in a grand equation. He ordered more tests using the villagers from the local valley. 3 more civilians were lost to the shredding effect of keys. They were relocated to distant worlds in pieces we never found. The Foundation eventually realized that the door was a lethal filter. It was searching for a specific and rare biological sequence of. Only one key allows for a safe and total transition. The others are traps designed to punish the curious and unworthy. Mulhausen's clinical detachment allowed the mission to continue despite the costs. But the psychological weight of the erased village remained a heavy shadow. This leads to the most significant event known as Incident Chronos. We authorized a long-term exploration mission using D-class subjects. Subject D-102 was selected for the primary test. He was given key number 12, and a week of food. He stepped through the threshold and vanished into a white light. The researchers waited for 7 hours in the basement of site. D-102 returned with his equipment covered in ash. He was in a state of total and catatonic mental shock. He spoke of seeing a world where the sun had died. He saw the remains of a Foundation facility made of lead. This incident proved that the door bridges both space and time. It is a window into the oblivion that waits for us. The discovery that our ultimate fate is already recorded in another dimension changed our entire containment philosophy for the ancient iron keys. Casualties at Site 62 continue to rise during the winter. We lost 2 senior researchers to the lure of Key 3. They claimed they could hear a motherly voice through the wood. They described a forest of emerald green trees and perfect peace. During a routine maintenance cycle, they slipped past the security line. They turned the iron lock and walked into the green dark. We never recovered their bodies or their recording equipment from there. The Foundation implemented mandatory auditory dampening for all containment staff members. We realized that the gateway possesses a potent cognitive and biological. It targets the lonely and the weary with promises of rest. By creating a circle of human warmth and shared reality, we create a barrier that the door's ancient code cannot easily penetrate. Operational consequences of the forest breach were absolute and very immediate. The O5 Council forbade any further human exploration of that world. We moved toward the use of automated drones for mapping data, but the machines often failed to return through the spatial rift. The electronics would return fried by high-energy radiation bursts instead. We learned that the door prefers the fuel of a soul. It resists the intrusion of our cold and modern silicon tools. This led to the creation of the specialized containment protocols. No single person is permitted to hold the iron key bundle. 2 personnel must witness every turn of the ancient mechanical locks. The Foundation treats the basement door as a patient predator tonight. We manage the hunger of the stars to protect the light. An internal investigation followed the Pennsylvania resonance incident in 2004. Researchers had kept all 12 keys in a single wooden box. The keys began to vibrate in unison during the night hours. They generated a low-frequency hum that matched the rift frequency. This resonance triggered a localized seismic event in the rural county. The walls of the bunker began to crack under the pressure. We realized the keys were communicating with the door from afar. They were attempting to force the gateway open without a hand. The Foundation immediately ordered the construction of individual leaden storage lockers. Each locker features magnetic dampeners to inhibit the runic signal broadcast. We must keep the coordinates separated to maintain the structural integrity. The keys are silent only when they are truly and totally. The long-term effects on containment were written in the archives. We have hardened the bunker with layers of titanium and lead. The negative air pressure seals prevent the leakage of alien gases. We monitor the site atmosphere for traces of liquid sulfur and neon. These gases are a biological hazard to the human respiratory system. If a seal fails, the wing is flooded with a gas. This agent breaks down protein chains to stop any biological growth. The Foundation has learned to treat every containment breach as A. We trade our humanity to ensure that the veil remains thick. Mankind is still a child huddled around a small thermal lamp. We pray that the iron locks never turn on their own. Security measures at the site include a high-resolution camera. We watch the oak frame of the door for any movement. The wood does not rot, but the grain does shift slowly. The patterns in the dark oak appear to mirror human faces. These faces belong to the subjects lost to the many worlds. This suggests that the door possesses a sprawling and biological memory. It is a physical record of every guest it has consumed. We scrub the factory dust from the floor twice each week. The cleaning staff must never touch the wooden frame of door. One accidental contact can trigger a fatal spatial displacement event then. We maintain the line of tactile anchoring to stay in light. By keeping the site sterile, we keep the gateway held shut. The Foundation response to the future site breach was a total purge. We administered Class A amnestics to everyone in the research wing. The data retrieved by D-102 was permanently redacted here. No mention of the dying sun exists in the public reports. We refer to the subject as a lost biological asset. This academic distance is our only protection against the collective trauma. We carry the weight of these erased lives like a shroud tonight. We do this to ensure the secret stays in lead box. The significance of the door lies in its role as architect. It is a machine that builds rooms from our own memories. As we expand the archive towards Series 11 and much further, we realize that containment is just a long way of saying. The record of casualties includes 3 members of Mobile Task Force. They were part of the first response team for Key 5. They entered the geometric city of Black Stone and were lost. Their signals cut out after they reached the central iron tower. We detected a broadcast that matched their individual DNA profiles later. The tower was using their heartbeats as a rhythmic and signal. The city behind the door is a single and massive computer. It processes the human form into data for the cosmic network. To stand in the presence of the Iron Keys is too. You are looking at a code that predates the first man. The Foundation is the jailer of a truth we cannot read. We document the pulse, and we measure the rift constantly. The evolution of containment was a path of blood and iron. Every new protocol was written in a lost human soul. We move from physical cages to leaden and magnetic nets. We move from ignorance to a specialized and clinical fear. The door continues to watch and to wait for an error. It waits for the power grid to find